Welcome to the North PHX Suburbanstead. In this video, we're replacing all 4 shock absorbers on a 2002 Jeep Wrangler. We do a fair amount of work on our own automobiles at the Suburbanstead, minor fixes, oil changes, things like that. But this is the first time that we're actually doing what I would say is a pretty big job, converting the garage into an auto mechanics workshop. We elected to change the shocks on the front tires first, mainly because of the positioning of where the shocks were, but also because we knew if we could take the tires off, we would get really good access to the mounting bolts. On the front tires, there are 2 mounting bolts on the bottom on the axle and 1 top mounting bolt that goes up into the frame. The front driver's side shock absorber was the easiest of all 4 to change out. This is because we had access to the top mounting bolt of the shock through a hole in the engine compartment. Easy to locate, easy to find, stick a wrench down in there, and loosen it all up. Installing the new shock absorber was really just as simple as taking off the old one. It was just reversing the order. So we attach the top of the shock, then we hand compress it and position the bottom bracket and attach the 2 bolts. Pretty straightforward. The front passenger side shock absorber was a little bit more challenging than the driver's side. This is because we didn't have that same access to the top mount bolt through the hole in the engine compartment, because that hole on that side is covered up by the air filter box. We discussed removing the box, we took a look at it, but at the end of it, we just made a decision to instead just go at it right from under the wheel well. We had plenty of space to go ahead and get that done. We're replacing the shock absorbers because they're just worn out. So check this out. This is the rubber grommet that surrounds the bushing on the bottom bracket of the shock absorber. You'll see how it's all chewed up. But it's not just from wear and tear. It's also because of the desert climate. Not the heat, but rather the dry air that we have all year long just gets to those rubber components. Similar to replacing the shock absorber on the front side of the driver's side, pretty straightforward here on the passenger front side as well. Install by connecting the top first, and then the 2 bolts on the bottom bracket onto the axle. Good to go. Alright, so we completed the installation of the shock absorbers on both of the front tires. So now we lower the jacks, put the tires back on, put the caps back on, lower the jacks all the way, and we're going to move to the 2 shock absorbers on the back wheels. And you'll see it's quite a different story working on those shock absorbers than it was on the front. But you know, wait a minute, first, kinda hungry. Lunchtime. Melted ham and cheese sliders, choice of chips, and choice of drinks, because this is the way we roll on the North PHX Suburbanstead. Onto the rear wheels. The setup is different than the front. You access the bolts for the shock absorbers from underneath rather than from the side, so there was no reason to remove the tires. We did, however, jack up the back end to give us more room to work. So we're going after the driver's side rear shock absorber first. Loosening the 1 bolt on the bottom of the shock was pretty simple. However, the 2 bolts at the top attaching the shock to the frame was harder to get to because of the proximity of other parts of the car, like the gas tank. On the passenger side, we first loosened the bracket holding the muffler. This was so we can get better access to those top bracket bolts of the shock. Removing the bottom bolt was easy. Removing the bolt on the gas tank side of the top bracket was pretty simple as well. But as you're about to see, the bolt on the wheel side of the top bracket was challenging. We struggled to get the socket seated correctly onto the hex bolt. Part of it was how close it was to the frame, but mostly because the head was starting to show signs of rounding. The more we went at the bolt, the more we got concerned about the bolt becoming stripped. So we grabbed a hammer and tapped the socket snugly into place. That worked. Once removed, we took a mill file and then a fine diamond file to sharpen up the edges of the head. Like we did on the front shocks, installing the new ones on the rear was the reverse order of the removal. We attached the top to the frame first. Trying to attach the shock to the bracket on the axle is where the real fun began. Compressing the shock by hand to line up the bushing in the bracket was tough, but the bigger problem was that the bushing on this new shock was wider than the original, so we couldn't fit it into the bracket without some modifications. As you can see, we tried quite a few things to make it fit, including widening the bracket. Nothing worked. In fact, we were only flaring out the side of the bracket, not at all widening it. So it was time to break out the power tools. Nice, let's make some sparks. All right, let's see if she fits. Maybe a little persuasion with the hammer. Maybe we'll try the screwdriver. Maybe we'll try the hammer and the screwdriver. Wait, I got an idea. Let's lift it with the jack. Then we'll try with the hammer and with the screwdriver and see if she fits then. Nope. So let's get back to grinding. Still not enough, so we got to grind it down some more. And we'll fine tune it using the Dremel. Alright, so here we go again. Let's see if we got it this time. Alright, success. So let's go ahead and tighten it all up and we'll move to the last shock. This has been another production from the North PHX Suburbanstead. I hope you found the video informative and entertaining. If you haven't done so already, hit subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications when the next video is posted. Thanks for watching.